This is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by the head of boxing for Skills Challenge Promotions, Mr. Amer Abdallah. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well, Dan. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I think last time we focused very much on the past and certainly on recent developments with the signing of Oleksandr Usyk. I think now it probably makes more sense to look to the future. And in the immediate future for Usyk is likely to be a mandatory defence of his world title against Daniel Dubois. Um,
Sure.
since the date and location of the fight were announced, we haven't heard a lot more. And I know Alex Krasuk said that you guys will be involved to some extent in the promotion of the show. What can you tell us about how that's developing and I guess reassure people that it is going to happen in August?
Oh, no, the fight is absolutely going to happen in K2 Promotions, of course, who are Alexander's promoters and Alex are really taking the lead on this. And what we understand, the venue is set, the date's all set, and right now it's just in the stages of putting it all together. There's still over 2 months for the fight, and I believe in the next couple of weeks everything will be done. There's going to be a press conference coming up here soon. It'll be announced as well. And things will get started. So I mean, we're still 8-9 weeks away from the fight, so there's plenty of time to be able to promote it and put everything out there, and they're very capable of being able to do that. So I think very soon you'll be able to hear all of the information.
And a lot was made at the time of K2 and Alex beating Frank Warren in the purse bids for the fight. Warren said, K2 had a lot more money to play with because his guy was down for the much shorter end of the purse, as is standard in these mandatory obligations. But how much influence, if any, did Skills Challenge have in enabling Alex to win those purse bids and by quite a wide margin?
Fair question. We support K2, and I can say that we support them. We back them, and we're big supporters of everything that they do. I know that's kind of dancing around the question,
A
but
little.
yeah, but we will continue to support them as our partners. But they had the intentions of going in there, winning the purse bid, and I'm sure they were going to come in higher than anybody else to ensure that they were always in the controlling side of the promotion, as they should. They've got the guy, they've got the main man, and they've done very well with him. So Skill Challenge will continue to support Alex and K2.
And obviously, there was a huge amount of speculation and excitement about the supposed four-man tournament taking place in Saudi Arabia in December. And it seemed at first that most of the participants, if not all, were going to take a break from the ring until that tournament took place. Now we've got Usyk defending, of course. He's got a mandatory, he can't really not do it unless he wants to give up one of the belts. Tyson Fury is apparently on the lookout for an opponent. Anthony Joshua's team have made an offer to Dillian White for a rematch also. Deontay Wilder, we're not sure exactly what he's going to do. From your point of view, was there a switch from the fighters intending to stay inactive for that period to getting on with their careers in the summer, then looking to the Saudi show?
No, Dave, the intent was never not to have them active. And even in my previous interview that I did, I said I would be hopeful that everybody's records stay intact and that everybody gets to December or the beginning of the year, whenever the fight ends up happening, that we have the intentions of putting that on, that they stay at their current market value, which is their records as is today. But the WBA has enforced that that Usyk has to make the mandatory, and the Dubois fight is right there. So we're hoping that he gets past that. I think in Frank and George's position that they can't overlook Dubois because he's their guy also, and start talking about the Fury fight yet. So I believe in this transitionary period, and this is what I was always saying, is we're still far ways away out from the end of the year or the beginning of the year to start deciding what happens. And these guys do need to stay active. So I don't think that anything has changed in terms of them wanting to stay busy, because they probably should stay busy. The most important thing is what happens after their busy fights and then leading them into Q4 or Q1 for the mega fight. And again, it's not a tournament; it's just 2 fights that we have on the card.
So of those 4 participants, which have agreed either verbally or otherwise to the idea of the Saudi double header?
Well, I believe everybody that we have talked to is on board. I don't believe, and I've said it before, and I know that it went all over the place, and I think he's catching a lot of flack for it, but and probably unjustly, is that Tyson Fury is going to be the problem. I don't believe he's going to be the problem. There is no indication from George Warren, Frank Warren, Bob Arum that Tyson Fury is going to have any issues taking this fight. I believe Tyson wants it. I mean, he's the kind of guy, he can't sit around him. You saw he can't enjoy retirement because the nature of his beast is to compete and to compete at a high level, and he wants to be under those lights. I don't believe, and again, this is just my own mere speculation, I don't believe Tyson Fury enjoys fighting guys like Francis Ngannou or Johnny Jones, or guys that aren't on an elite level. Guys like him want to be tested. Guys like him want to be under the lights and want to have that pressure. And that's why he fought, Deontay Wilder, and he fought, twice and 3 times. And they have those kinds of, stages for guys like him. He just, he needs it. So I don't believe that's going to be problematic. I talk to Shelly Finkel every single day. That's not an issue at all. You've seen Eddie Hearn in Saudi, and he's voiced they have no problem with the fight. And obviously the Usyks don't have a fight either. So, I mean, don't have a problem with the fight either. So I don't believe that there's going to be any issues whatsoever.
You mentioned Tyson not being the problem. We know he's an erratic character. He's not necessarily changes his mind every day, but changes what he says is on his mind every day on social media and so on. How much of a concern is that side of things?
I love the Tyson Fury character, because the Tyson Fury person is different than the Tyson Fury character. And what he says, he sends shockwaves, and he stirs the pot. I love it. I think it's great for the marketing. I don't believe if the essence of the question is, do you believe Tyson will commit and then change his mind? The answer is absolutely not. I don't believe that. I don't believe that the WBC heavyweight champion of the world does not want to be a undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That's not even in my realm of thinking. So, but until then, enjoy the show. I mean, he puts on a good show, and it's fun, and it's funny. And that's why he's so marketable. I mean, arguably in the heavyweight division, he is the most marketable guy, and it's because of those kinds of things that he does. So, I have no problem with it whatsoever.
So let's talk about another potential obstacle. So say we know Usyk Dubois is happening in August. Say Tyson Fury fights Martin Bakole. He seems to be the favourite of the bookmakers currently. And Dillian Whyte gets the rematch with Anthony Joshua. Those 3 guys that you've got lined up for December, which of the 3 would you be most concerned about losing in the interim?
I'm not going to. I have my own personal thoughts as a boxing fan.
Yeah, you can share those. It's just us.
Right, just us and your millions of people that watch. My personal thoughts I'll leave for my personal circle that we talk personal boxing with. But I have a responsibility being in this position that I have to ensure that it's always very professional and respectful. I believe these are the 4 elite heavyweights, and I don't foresee any issues with these guys all getting into the ring with their records intact. Of course, you could say, well, AJ had a subpar performance last time. Well, maybe AJ rises and falls to the level of his opposition. You could say Deontay has been inactive, and he's coming off, the last major fight was the big Fury fight. But, same thing with Deontay. I think when he's pushed, you see a whole different animal. So the opposition is really just as important as, the performance. And in boxing, the only thing we really look at as fans is the last fight. You're only as good as your last fight and your last performance. And that's really what everybody remembers. So I think that it depends. And I think that if you tell AJ, hey, AJ, you got Deontay Wilder next, the AJ that comes into camp and ends up in the ring under those lights is an entirely different AJ than you saw against Franklin. No disrespect to him. And the same for all the rest of these guys.
So given we're quite far down the road, certainly in planning, I say I've got nothing to do with it, but if we're far down the road in planning the December event, have you begun to enter into talks with different TV companies in the US, for example, and in the UK about who will broadcast the event?
I mean, look, again, it's down the road, but yeah, we have, the platforms that we are planning are pretty much set in place, and you know, we have a plan for that, as we do for the other shows that we're going to try to get off the ground before the end of the year, and some other, you know, initiatives that we have. So yeah, I mean, it's all it's going to be very systematic and, you know, plug and play, but yeah, we have those all situated.
And you've emphasised that it's not a tournament, it's a championship double header. But is there an intention long term to match the two victors from the fights?
Oh, I mean, how great would that be? I mean, and you want to see something different. I mean, if Deontay ends up beating AJ and Tyson ends up beating Usyk, you know, you got the fourth fight. But what if Usyk ends up beating Tyson and AJ ends up beating Wilder, or vice versa? I mean, that's the fight that you want to see. The Usyk Fury fight's really going to be the differentiator to see how fun that would be. And what an amazing fight. Look, Wilder versus Usyk or AJ versus Usyk are both great fights.
If it turned out to be Fury against AJ, which is a fight British fans have wanted for a long time, how would Skills Challenge be involved in that? Would it have to take place in the Middle East region? Because it's a fight we'd love to see here in the UK, as you can imagine.
Which fight?
Fury against AJ, if they were to come out on top.
Look, I mean, realistically, a Fury AJ, it's homegrown in the UK, right? And whether you see an Usyk Joshua third fight or not, I think that still has a lot of media attention and attraction. But if you look at, you know, the black and white, if you will, and just look at it objectively, yeah, of course, AJ versus Fury probably should be in the UK. But again, this is the part that, you know, there's always that back and forth of, if Saudi ends up putting up the purse money and the prize money that is significantly more than what the UK can attract, who makes that decision? Are the fighters going to say, no, I'd rather fight at home? So
yeah, just before we lost you there, you were just talking about the possibility of AJ and Fury, two Brits, potentially fighting in the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, again, these guys are prize fighters. So if you have that fight, which probably should be in the UK, I mean, they're both UK guys. It's, you know, it's the battle of the United Kingdom. Everybody wants to see, you know, who the elite guy is, and how long have they been at each other. At one point, that fight was almost made, before, you know, before Deontay Wilder came in, the injunction there. So, but these guys are prize fighters also, Danny, and you have to remember that long after their careers, long after, you know, we parade them and we cheer for them or we boo them, you know, it's them and their families and their bank accounts, and they have to look at what's best for them financially. So that's a decision that them and their promoters will have to make, and we just hope that, you know, that it ends up being something that the fans all appreciate and that can understand, because these guys, you know, they put their health on the line, they put their lives on the line for these fights, and they get paid for that. So if the question is where should the fight be and what would be the best fight for them, probably the UK is right. But business-wise, what's right for them, you know, that's a decision that they're going to have to make.
Just finally, before I let you go, is there a set date and venue for the show in December?
There is not. There is not. I mean, more than likely, you know, of course, it's going to be in the kingdom. It depends on where Prince Khalid and the Ministry of Sport want to land the fight, whether it's going to be Riyadh, Jeddah, or another city. But no, that's not determined yet. But I'm hoping that, like I said, by the end of the summer, we'll have all of that figured out.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to catching up again when a few more of the pieces are in place. But as always, really appreciate your time. And yeah, let's catch up soon.
Yeah.